There's no way you just got the name wrong. I know this is only the third episode that we've done. And this probably isn't sitting at the back of your mind like it is mine. But, bro.
I didn't even realize that until you said it was like, wait a minute. Oh, Whispered Worries. Not
yes.
Worry Whispers.
That is our name. We are Whispered Worries. I recorded. You know what? I'm going to keep that in. I'm going to keep some of that in.
Okay.
Yep.
Were you recording the whole time?
Well, when we started really laughing, I started recording again because I needed to capture that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me recompose. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Ian, and over somewhere is Ethan. And we are continuing on with our little mini case file on the Slenderman and all the things that have occurred because of him and his creation. And we are the host of Whispered Worries.
Yes! Yes! Yes, Ian! That was beautiful. Thank you for bringing us back to the limelight, baby.
Better than the first attempt.
Your first attempt was genuine, at least. You know, you really really thought you had it. You were confident, you were there, you were present, you know.
I'm proud of my mistakes.
Wear them on your sleeve, baby. They can never hurt you.
Yep. Well, I can't wear my kid on my sleeve.
Are you just saying that because I said baby?
No.
I was calling you baby, dude. Baby boy. Baby man. Baby man.
Sorry, I guess that's an accident, not a mistake. I can't call it a mistake. That's not good. Don't put that in.
Oh no. Oh no. It's okay. You've already said very questionable things on this show that I'm not only going to have to bleep out in the first part, but also in the second part. And I have no doubt that you'll say something in the third part.
Dude, you got a freaking spider on your wall.
Is he back?
Yeah. It's to the right. It's like right under the ledge, right above the lamp right there.
What's up, fool?
You see him?
Boop. He hasn't crawled on my toes yet, so we're safe. We're safe. We're doing good. All right. Yeah, as Ian said, welcome back, everyone. Last episode, we've decided definitively we'll release this as one whole cut, but definitively this will be episodic in nature because the sessions that we're doing, as you can see if you're watching online, we're wearing different clothes every time we're recording. That's because we've recorded over the course of like a week to try and get this all going. This was a much larger project than either of us were anticipating. So to kind of summarize the last part into part 3, we went over Marble Hornets, their YouTube channel, and checked out some of their videos, as they were a foundational part to the building of a motion capture visualized Slenderman, and sort of a idea that came from, was it Jossie Rossi? No, was it Jossie Rossi? Hold on, you didn't like Jossie Rossi. It was.
Ooh, Doug was the one I didn't like.
Well, you didn't, dude. You don't like any of these people.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You don't like any of them. I don't. Maybe it didn't give the name of the person. Oh, Leech Code 5. That's right. Leech Code 5 imagined a Slenderman documentary or some sort of found footage thing that takes in likeness to the Blair Witch Project or any of those other found footage films, and basically makes a creepy ARG surrounding it in video format. So that's what we went over in the previous episode. Marble Hornets, ARGs, all that good stuff. And now we're diving in to the concept of there's a mosquito. That's not the concept, by the way. That's just, I saw a mosquito zipping around. All right.
Bugs, gotta love them.
Got a spider, got a mosquito. We're just,
I
we're doing
had
it
a
all.
many-legged creature try crawling onto my toes like a week ago.
You know, I was holding my youngest child, and I felt something tickling my neck. I was fully prepared that it was a spider, and I was going to accept it, because I don't really freak out about. I was going to freak out because I got my baby in my arms, so I called my wife over like she was going to do anything if there was actually a spider there, and thank God it was just some fuzz. You know, we're good. We're good. But I was prepared.
Yeah,
I was like,
that shit a lot.
if there's a big ass spider on me, I'm just going to accept it. My fate is sealed. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, I tweak out about bugs. I'm not a method, but I tweak out about bugs like crawling on me, especially in my sleep. Because for whatever reason, like my earlobes feel like something's crawling around them at all times. I feel like they're in my ears, tunneling into my brain.
When we worked out, did you just take too much pre?
I think so.
Because you were violently on that shit. You were.
I was.
You took too much. Every time we worked out, you're like, this only recommends like 1 scoop or like a half a scoop, but I always do 2 or 3. Like, I just don't get where I need to be at the regular dosage. So, yeah, I just don't get the pump, man. I remember drinking one with you as you put like 2 full scoops of your crack into my shaker bottle. And it was absurd. It was absurd. Okay? My heart almost exploded. I could feel tingling in my butthole, dude.
Yeah, the alanine tingles.
Yeah.
The butthole tingles.
Yeah, I don't like
butthole
that.
itches.
I don't like that at all. And clearly you have permanent nerve damage from it, so that's cool. It's you, baby.
It's me.
It's you. That was hot.
You're welcome.
What?
As a result,
Hold on. What? What is that, dude? Like a voodoo practitioner. Oh, voodoo. Voodoo hoodoo, baby. Okay. Voodoo. It's African traditional religion. Yeah, that's it. And they would show up to their local Catholic church every Sunday while maintaining a shrine to the Loas in their Christian disguises. That's crazy, dude. They're just in there doing spooky stuff in their Catholic church, man.
yeah.
Yikes. I mean, I guess Catholicism was probably more than likely militaristically forced on them. I don't want to say anything.
So I feel like what that bit is really saying, like, you say you're this, but you do this. So you say you're Christian, but you practice Hindu, you know? So a Hindu practitioner goes to the Catholic Church every Sunday while maintaining as, a voodoo, I'm just going to say voodoo, practitioner making a point of showing up to their local Catholic church every Sunday while maintaining a shrine to the luau's and their Christian disguises. So through that terminology, through the words that are used in that, it leads me to believe that the person is playing that they're Christian, but they practice a different religion.
Yeah, I think that manifests in a lot of Latin, like Latino, specifically like Mexican Catholicism, with their adoration for like the Lady of Death. I can't remember what her name is. Yeah, Santa.
Clara?
No, Santa Marite. Marite. Hold on. Let me actually freaking pronounce this like a human. Santa Muerte. I think that's probably
Close enough.
You are looking at...
stupid.
Let's learn how to pronounce these phrases from Spanish, meaning the Saint Death or the Holy Death, Saint Death in Spanish. So
Just
the Spanish pronunciation, Santa Muerte.
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 Muerte. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish, but it's sort of what I understand about that saint or Saint Death. There's a cult surrounding that character, and I think it comes from the indigenous peoples of Mexico, like the Aztecs and stuff, like the goddess of death, but she translated within the Catholic religion or some sects of Catholicism in, the the Americas, or the Central Americas, sorry, and is used to like justify workings of the cartel and things of that nature. It's kind of their icon almost.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, which is not it's not Christian, but it's in a very Christian context. Also, I did look it up. The Catholics did subjugate or brought out decrees that allowed for the justification of the subjugation of the West African peoples through militaristic and violent action. So it was more than likely a forced conversion thing. So yeah, they just did whatever they could to hold on to their own traditions and beliefs within the context of a militaristic Catholic government. It's good facts. Good facts.
Yes. Moving forward. Interesting.
To successful attempt to construct one. What?
Yeah.
Yo, dude. Yeah. What? She's like, this is pretty cool, man. Boom. Here you go, son. I got you a puppy. Just think about it. It's there, I promise. Bro.
This is getting interesting. I mean, I've heard of, now that this is all coming into concept, I have heard of the terminology of Tulpa being used before. Specifically with like imaginary friends or people who are super lonely and they just sit there and they think about something, a person or a thing, long enough to where their mind just kind of tricks them into it being real. It's pretty much like self-induced. If you want to look at this purely scientifically, it's like self-induced schizophrenia, really.
Yeah, hold on. Found. I'm trying to find it because I know exactly. Hold on. Okay. I won't find it. So, we had already touched on the idea of thought forms kind of vaguely and ignorantly before when we talked about Jujutsu Kaisen and anime and certain... And it was funny because I made the mention that it was Eastern in nature. The idea was from Eastern media more so than it was Western, and that was because I had seen it in like Jujutsu Kaisen and some other stories from Eastern tradition, so it makes a ton of sense that it's within the context of Buddhism, because that's the main religion in most of those areas. So, yeah, and we even talked about Slenderman himself being a sort of thought form in reality, from fiction to reality. That's kind of the whole thesis of this project, is from fiction to reality. Here's Slenderman. Here's how he's actually impacted people. And I think it's really telling here in this book on thought forms when... oh, it's giving me goosebumps because it's freaking creepy, dude.
It's crazy because we didn't read any of this.
No, we didn't. We didn't read none of this. Oh, God, dude. It's messing with me. the Tulpa is endowed with enough vitality to become capable of playing the part of the real being. So my idea is, from the Western mindset, or from a, I guess, I want to say, from my spiritual worldview, from the Christian and the Christian West's worldview, is if you give something enough power, if you pour enough into something, it becomes an idol, it becomes an icon. Therefore, something can kind of take what was once simply a fantasy, simply not real, and manifest it in reality. I think I talked about that when we touched on cryptids, when I talked about my past about cryptids, and I kind of articulated how I believe cryptids really work. And in that, it is a evil spirit that it becomes attached to this very popularized fiction, and thereby bringing that fiction into more of a metaphysical reality, which is crazy and freaky that Buddhism is like sniffing onto this stuff, dude. or tries to manifest it. Like, it's freaky that Buddhism, or this sect of Buddhism, as it seems, it's sort of a niche within the Buddhist religion. Yeah, it said most Buddhists would reject the Tulpa idea as base superstition. But there's fringe groups of Buddhism that are sitting there,
I mean, there's
and they're
groups
manifest.
of Christians.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, in everything there's a modicum of the truth, right? In everything we get a piece of the puzzle. And it's pretty crazy that they're yeah. Oh, it's so freaky, dude. It's so freaky to think that you can manifest something with, and it become malevolent, and then freaking turn on you and kill you, dude. Are you kidding me?
Well, it's like, as the writer of this article says, it's like raising a child. You can raise it the right way, and it'll, probably love you, probably want to call you dad or mom, or you could just break out the whip every time your child smiles, and you just beat the crap out of it every time they smile, and then they grow up to resent you. You become a helicopter parent. You tell them, no, you can't go to David's birthday party.
Are you speaking from some sort of personal experience here, Ian?
No.
Were you restricted from David's birthday party at one point?
No. I mean, I think you and me both went to David's birthday party.
And yeah, we did. There was an actual person.
Yes.
His name was David, and we went and we shot each other with airsoft guns at his birthday party, and then we shot real guns.
Yeah, then his dad walked out and fucking shot a shotgun out of nowhere. None of us were expecting it. We were like in the freaking 7th grade.
Yeah, something like that, bro.
Yeah.
It was right before I had moved. Well, it was right after I moved away. So it was like that summer that I had moved. And I got the invite to his birthday party. I remember specifically running across a freshly ground up cornfield and making the bet that the first one to roll their ankles a rotten egg. Because that was just roll ankle city. I don't think any of us did. Or if we did, we just toughed it out.
No, I don't remember rolling my ankle.
Hell yeah.
Silence.
Hell yeah. Okay, I'll take it from here.
Okay.
Because it leads into the next thing. Tibetan magicians also relate cases in which the Tulpa is sent to fulfill a mission, but it does not come back and pursues its purgations as a half-conscious, dangerously mischievous puppet. The same thing, it is said, may happen when the maker of a tulpa dies before having dissolved it. Yet as a rule, the phantom either disappears suddenly at the death of the magician or gradually vanishes like a body that perishes for want of food. On the other hand, some tulpas are expressly intended to survive their creator and are especially formed for that purpose. Fascinated by this concept, David Neal decided to experiment with creating a tulpa herself. To avoid the Lamist influence, as I suspect a form of control of the experiment, she decided to base her tulpa on quite another set of imagery. A plump, jolly Christian monk, not unlike Friar Tuck of the Robin Hood legends. I shut myself in Psalms, meditative seclusion, and proceeded to perform the prescribed concentration of thought and other rites. After a few months, the phantom monk was formed. His form gradually grew fixed and lifelike looking. He became a kind of guest living in my apartment. I then broke my seclusion and started off for a tour with my servants and tents. The monk included himself in the party. Though I lived in the open, riding on horseback for miles each day, the illusion persisted. I saw the fat tulpa. Now and then, it was not necessary for me to think of him to make him appear. The phantom performed various actions, the kind that are natural to travelers and that I had not commanded. For instance, he walked, stopped, looked around him. The illusion was mostly visual, but sometimes I felt as if a robe was lightly rubbing against me, and once a hand seemed to touch my shoulder. The features which I had imagined when building my phantom gradually underwent change. The fat, chubby-cheeked fellow grew leaner. His face assumed a vaguely mocking, sly, malignant look. He became more troublesome and bold. In brief, he escaped my control. Once, a herdsman who brought me a present of butter saw the tulpa in my tent and took it for a living llama. What?
So, I would assume... So, Lama's like the head Buddhist, you know?
Oh.
That's what he's talking about,
oh.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I
you're
definitely...
like,
no, I
Lama
definitely
was
read
out.
that. I saw Cusco.
Oh, you saw Cusco?
Yeah, I saw Cusco. As soon as I saw Llama, I saw Cusco. I ought to have let the phenomenon follow its course, but the presence of that unwanted companion began to prove trying to my nerves. It turned into a daymare. Moreover, I was beginning to plan my journey to the Lhasa and needed a quiet brain devoid of other preoccupations, so I decided to dissolve the phantom. I succeeded, but only after 6 months of hard struggle. My mind creature was tenacious of life. Emphasis, mine. There was nothing strange in the fact that I may have created my own hallucination. The interesting point is that the cases of materialization, others seeing the thought forms, have been created. The tulpa has been absorbed into modern magical theory via the chaos magic school. The invertent pack-rat nature of chaos practitioners means that a few, if any, of the world's occult and mystical concepts have gone untapped, and the possibility of making imagination manifest in such a direct form meshes nicely with their concepts of servitor and egregor, and with the mechanic transmission of occult ideas and powers, so that the possibility of constructing a tulpa is relatively well known in modern magical praxis, which may or may not have influenced its appearance as an integral part of the Slenderman mythos. I don't like
Blood
this.
for the blood god?
Yeah, dude, I don't like this, bro. Yeah, blood for the blood god. I don't like the occult. Chaos magic school, that whole idea is just sacrilege, bro.
Yeah.
It is sacrilege. Okay. The first hint within Slenderman canon that Slendy was perhaps a form of Tulpa appeared early on in the original somethingawful.com thread. As noted above, it was in the post from I, saying he exists because you thought of him. Now try not to think of him. The first direct reference to Tulpas, however, came on 20 July 2009, the day after the first Marble Hornets video, and only 10 days from Victor Surge's original post. Here is how user Soki put it. I remember this. I remember seeing this. This was freaky, dude. Basically, they got a whole bunch of people in like a room together, and I believe it was over the course of multiple sessions, but they basically dove into creating a tulpa, or an imagined creature person that was shared by everybody in the room. So you had all of these different people in the room having conversations with Philip, even though there wasn't any Philip in the room. And the videos are freaking uncanny, bro. Okay, I have a lot to say. About this. We'll only watch like a couple minutes of it. All right. That's good for me. First minute's good for me. That is just fine. Okay. There's so much that is just. I mean, you get the same thing with a Ouija board, right? You get the same thing with any group of people who gather and are trying to call upon something, and most of the time they have no idea what that thing is. And even if you do think you know what that thing is, generally it is not what you think it is. Example A, David Neal thought that she was conjuring this jolly good old Christian fella, but it immediately, as soon as it had fully manifested, it became something that was not what she wanted it to be, which means that she had no power over it in the first place and was just messing with her, dude. So this is especially freaky because I was reading a book called Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future. It's by an Orthodox monk named Father Seraphim Rose. And he was deeply entrenched for a long time in the occult, in Eastern teachings, things of that nature. And there's a section in the book where he talks specifically about the charismatic movement. It was a movement of Christianity, 20th century, very new, very recent. And it was about the Holy Spirit coming and giving people new prophetic revelations, new revelations on an individual level, And there's specific signs that there's indicators that you have the Holy Spirit, such as speaking in tongues. A lot of the Pentecostals and certain sects of Christianity that are contained within the charismatic movement or hold charismatic ideals believe that, you don't have the Holy Spirit within you unless you speak in tongues. And Father Seraphim Rose talks about how speaking in tongues, in the way in which it is done within those circles, the only thing that is relatable to that within history are ancient shamanic practices. There's nothing of early Christian history. There's nothing medieval Christian history. There's nothing even up until the 20th century. You don't see that kind of practice happening in Christian circles. You only see it in shamans doing their things, like psychics and those sorts of people who play with these kind of spiritual things. And you see how they're all in a circle putting their hands down on the table.
That was very reminiscent of a Ouija board kind of action to me.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that was also kind of weird to me is they were all very delayed. And so this is where, like, I'm going to come at it a little bit more rationally, Same thing with, like, Ouija boards. I'm not saying that there's no power that isn't there. Do believe that gathering a group of people in an area can amplify certain things and effects compared to doing it by yourself or whatever it may be. But Ouija boards, a lot of people, a lot of the stigmatism is like, oh, one person's just fucking with everybody else and moving around. Okay, whatever. That's kind of what I get from that situation, is because everyone sits there and kind of thinks about something, and then everybody's responses start coming out after somebody else says something, instead of it kind of being like all at once. It's kind of like a fortune teller. They sit there.
Yeah.
And they sit there and they try to figure you out and what you're going to say before you say it. So everyone's sitting there, they got something on the tip of their tongue, but they're waiting for somebody to just go ahead and say it and continue on. And
like, they're doing everything but saying it. Like, they're whatever they're feeling, or whatever they're feeling, or maybe whatever they want to happen, when they're kind of explaining it, and I'm assuming probably some questions push the client into a direction that would that they would be, oh, that's a huge revelation. Oh my gosh, how did you know that? When all the conversation leading up into that point was just pointing right to the answer that they already had preloaded.
Yeah.
Which that makes sense. There's some stuff with that, man, where, like, I've had personal experience with that. Like, my dad, when he had first become a Christian, and he would talk to his coworkers about Christ and all those things. One of his coworkers went to a psychic or a fortune teller, or what are they called? There's a name for the whole group of them. And I'm blanking on it, but anyway, this guy went, coworker of my dad's. What's that?
Gypsies.
Yes, yeah, gypsies. He's dealing with a hard time, I guess, and goes get his palms read or whatever mystic thing happens. But something very strange, and my dad's coworker came to him like the next day or after the weekend, whenever he had the reading done, and say, she talked about you. And this freaked my dad out, because the psychic or whatever had mentioned somebody at the workplace of the employee that he should stay away from, specifically because he was a Christian and talking about Christian things. And I believe she even said his name, like straight up said his name. That's why the guy knew who to go to immediately, which harkens to a deeper spiritual reality that this kind of stuff can contain. I'm not saying it always does. I'm definitely skeptical, I can be very skeptical, even though that's not really shining through on this show. But I have a fair amount of skepticism. I do not think that everybody who wants to go be a psychic has that potential, has that connection, has that well, I would say no psychics actually have that understanding. But when it comes to certain things like manifesting Philip, what David Neal did, that's a little different. And I would even go as far as to say what happened with Slenderman. What happened with the case in 2014 that we're going to cover in the next part. But you'll see why all of this gets even scarier, gets even creepier, gets even more real, because what happened in 2014 was extremely real and extremely terrifying, and having this context behind it, oh gosh, dude, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, did you think that maybe we're like making a tulpa out of this? You know, like really bringing this into reality? Yes. Good job, everybody on essay. You did it, and it almost got someone killed. So, nice job obsessing over this horrific creature.
Yeah, I mean,
Yikes.
he's pointing out like a lot of the right feelings.
He is.
Like I'm a firm believer that shit, stuff like this should be not discussed or continuously brought up. Like my whole stance on it is kind of exactly what he's talking about. It's like I don't really believe in ghosts or anything that's gonna be spooky. Like mainly because I don't want anything to happen to me. It's like you bring bad will if you think about it.
Right. So you'd like rather it be in the realm of disbelief and superstition than be a reality that you have to confront. I feel that deeply because when I read that excerpt from Father Seraphim Rose's book, I was terrified because I believe in those spiritual realities. And when I read that the charismatic spiritual realities or the charismatic movement's thought and ideology was based in almost a demonic subset of practices, being somebody who came up in a sort of charismatically inspired church, that struck a nerve, and I was legitimately scared. And I felt as though when I came to that realization, I could confront those things that I had experienced in the past. And it's almost like, the devil's in the details, one, and the enemy's a liar, two. And you wouldn't believe anything that he had to say if his lies were obvious and on the nose. When I had that revelation after reading his book, that realization, that light bulb on, I seriously, I had hair standing on the back of my neck. I goosebumps on my arms because I had brushes with that, pretty significant ones too. The hysteria that happens in those environments, people getting knocked down and falling to the floor, getting, I think it's struck by the Holy Spirit or something like that. It's not a historical Christian practice. It is, in my opinion, it's not a Christian practice at all. Sorry, Pentecostal listeners. You need to do some research, all right? Because you might be tapping into some dangerous stuff. Just going to leave it at that. But, yeah, I understand your sentiment, though. I would rather the spiritual realities that I believe in not be as vicious as they are, and probably just not even exist. I mean, I wish the devil didn't exist. I wish demons didn't exist and work actively to secure our damnation. We made it.
Ian Cat Vincent. Huh?
We made it. I mean, that's the end of the article. But if you want to read details about Ian Cat Vincent specifically, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Ian Cat Vincent was born on Imbolc Groundhog Day in Gravesend, England, 1964. He is a lifelong student of the occult and a former professional combat magician, curse breaker, and exorcist. In recent years, he has focused on exploring the utility of the hyper-real fiction-inspired belief systems. His writing on Fortuania and magic, especially on personal magic style he terms Götterskamen, can be found at The
He's got a
CatVincent.com.
bunch of links. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So seems like, I mean, pretty solid writer, very good researcher. This took us a while to get through, so he did his work. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mr. Cat, about being a combat magician. That the
He's
thing
a
that
first
immediately
breaker and an exorcist.
dude, the immediate thing that came to mind was the dueling table in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. I don't think you're a combat magician, but you do good research. So that was pretty insane. From 2 images to something of occult influence. Really, it went from, I mean, it became all forms of media, and yeah, it started with pictures, became writing, became video, and was more and more expounded upon. And its influence during that time was tangible, that's for sure. When was this? This article doesn't give a date, because I want to know. I'm going to assume this was written before 2014.
I would have to assume, yes.
Because, yeah, it would definitely, like, for the amount of research that this guy did, he would have absolutely included the events of 2014 in this.
Yeah.
If they had already occurred, because everything points to, from the association with Slenderman and children, from the association Slenderman allying itself or trying to manipulate children, and everything in between. The quote specifically that was really telling was, anyway, I'll post a quote, but I'll paraphrase it right now. Essentially, that Slenderman could influence you to do actions that you otherwise wouldn't. That includes ending the life of somebody else. And the fact that that literally happens, that's nuts. Do you have any final thoughts?
The thing as a whole, it's pretty well written. Is that, like, with me being more rational, like, I'm a firm believer that tulpas cannot exist.
Do you think in any form?
I'm just a firm believer that tulpas are not plausible. I said, like, I do believe it's just you playing a trick on yourself. I don't really think that is something that could manifest between multiple people. Yeah, it's like self-induced schizophrenia. That's the way I look at it. Because all those things that people see when they have schizophrenia, it's real to them. It feels real, and it's something that can kind of start to progress. Like, it starts as thoughts, and then it becomes like something, is kind of there, kind of not. And then, boom, it's like you're having a full-blown conversation with this random person. My grandpa obviously had schizophrenia, so he would sit there and have conversations with seemingly nobody for hours on end, but he felt real. And a lot of schizophrenics talk about the hallucinations that they have of these other people, and it's not necessarily, all good or bad. It's based upon their mood, the way these hallucinations come to them. Like, if they're in a good mood, the hallucination might be in a good mood. If they're in a bad mood, the hallucination might be in a bad mood. But they can actually, some of them have, from what I've seen, have expressed control over their hallucinations in terms of, like, the general well-being of them, from being, bad to, this is actually kind of pleasant. But yeah, I just believe that tulpas, the whole concept of it, is just self-induced.
What do you think? What do you think of when it isn't just one person experiencing the same thing? So, like, one thing that is a consistency that I've found across people encountering Bigfoot, it's not necessarily what he looks like. It's not necessarily the sounds. even though the sounds are getting closer, but it's always the smell. Every single account that I have ever heard of or read about a Bigfoot encounter has been this horrific smell of death and rot that accompanies whatever they're about to see or experience. And when you have multiple people across multiple different spans of time experiencing the same thing, that indicates to me a deeper, more tangible, real thing that is going on. And I don't know how much that happened with Slenderman specifically, because it was such a match-like sort of thing. It burned bright,
Yeah.
it burned fast, and it went out. However, when it was bright and hot, it was. I want to assume that people, if they had ever had sightings or hallucinations.
Once again, tying into the whole idea of mass hysteria. There's a few accounts throughout history where it's a lot of people that got around and claimed they saw one thing at one time, and that was it. One of the most famous examples would be a situation where my memory fades horribly on this exact example when it comes to exact location and specifics. But I believe it was 3 girls, and I believe they were in a town in Spain. I'd be wrong. Turkey. Somewhere in Europe. And the Virgin Mary spoke to them. Told them to, that this is going to happen on this day. And, do whatever with that information. They ended up getting the whole town there. And, the whole town got there. And I believe the account varied from person to person. It was just like they looked at the sun, and the sun dimmed and brightened back up, dimmed and brightened back up, or nothing would happen. And a couple of accounts said that the sun just started through the sky.
Like what Mary said would happen?
I think she just said that something was going to happen that day. I can't remember exactly if it was something crazy or what. But yeah, that's what ended up happening. And as I said, I can't remember exactly everything, but that is roughly how it went down.
I see your point about mass hysteria, like a whole town
Yes.
being influenced to, I guess, subscribe to something happening. I mean, you get that pretty much every year with the date setters. The the rapture's coming, yo. I saw this sign from
September
God.
23rd.
Yeah. I saw this sign from God. The moon is in alignment. I hope the crying wasn't picked up. The moon was in alignment. I do agree with you about mass hysteria. I just don't know if that applies here, especially with what actually happens.
Well, I mean, it's a one-off case of what actually happens, or an unknown amount of potential, really. But yeah, it's that's the realm of plausibility I would put it into.
Yeah.
Specifically with what happens, I think that's just somebody probably shouldn't have been allowed access to that media.
But do you think that it's happened, and this is part of our motif within our channel, is exploring how these things can actually manifest,
impact,
and
yes.
and people will act upon the inspiration of them. And in my mind, it's not natural. We're not meant to harm each other. We shouldn't just straight up murder each other. That comes from somewhere else, and I think that somewhere
Yes.
else is is malevolent ultimately, and isn't how we are just on a baseline. So
Yeah.
like the impact and influence, yeah, like the case in 2014 concerning Slenderman is a one-off, and there was one more that was sort of maybe not enough really information to say anything definitive on it, but
Mhm.
like there's Slenderman, there's the Scream Killers, there's Dexter, um, there's other, and then there's other like Jeff the Killer. There's the what is it? I think you recommended it. It was the other one, creepypasta, Laughing Jack. Is that
I
a
might have.
yeah? I think, and then Laughing Jack, and all of them are these fictional entities that end up influencing real action and real
Yes.
unnatural action. Yeah, and it doesn't do it for everyone, right? It's strange. And I found it interesting also when David David Neal was talking about how their tulpa was experienced by another person, and I don't
Yeah.
think that it didn't sound like she was very vocal about having this tulpa, or she wasn't like telling people, oh, I have this old Saint Nick guy following me around. It
Mhm.
seemed like it was very internalized, very in and of herself. But then she writes about somebody seeing her tulpa and having experience with it, which is strange. And then with the
Yeah, I do
Philip
view that as
experiment,
strange.
same thing, because that's done within a rational psychiatric evaluation. That wasn't like, it was a purely, I suppose, atheistic approach to the idea of tulpas and trying to explore whether or not it can actually happen, and then having multiple people from that experiment come back and say, hey, like, whatever we did in there, it's following me around. It's, I'm either seeing Philip, or I've been touched, grabbed, pulled, scratched, talked to, whatever,
Mhm.
with this entity Philip, that we were doing this purely pragmatically, purely for science, and then it it got a little out of hand, which is interesting to me to observe when it's done in that sort of context, in the rational context. But no, I agree that absolutely, if there wasn't something very violent and very evil associated with Slenderman as just a fictional character, I would probably go more so with your understanding. But I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Slenderman itself is kind of born in a violent and evil manner.
True, that's true. I mean, yeah,
So,
what you said. I really liked what you said about the inspiration of Slenderman. I really liked it. How you talked about the blur, like how it was an allegory for adults taking advantage of children.
yeah.
Yeah, you were dead on with that. That was killer.
So, like, I believe that whether, I said, whether it was my theory or something happened to this person, or they just purely came up with this idea. I mean, most ideas are based on things that people have experienced, or a solution to a problem they've experienced. That's where most ideas come from, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not this person just made it as like a brainchild, like a Cthulhu kind of deal, like nothing's ever been referenced before with this kind of guy,
I mean, the design
or whether or not.
is nothing super special. It's
No, it's not. It's just a character in a suit with some couple black tentacles coming out. It's not something that I would say is super high effort.
it almost like this
Um,
first image in the in the actual article, it looks like a spider. You know, he looks like a spider.
Yeah.
So I feel like to come up with something like this, it's not too far fetched. Like,
No, it's not.
you know, I don't know about you, but my mind can imagine some pretty horrific stuff very easily.
Yes. Yes, I would agree. It's like, for instance, in one of my dreams, this is a dream that stuck with me for many years, because it's a twofold dream.
Many
Yes.
years.
It was like the third grade I had this dream, dude. And I had two of them. Two of the same kind of concepts. But there were these... I ended up getting abducted by these two tall black figures. Not Slendermans. They were cloaked. They were like faceless.
Like Nazgul type of thing?
No, like they had the same kind of structure as Faceless from Spirited Away.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so they were just tall black figures, but they didn't have a mask. And they just forced me to sit on a chair, and they tried to like Hansel and Gretel me by feeding me a bunch of shit and just making me complacent.
Okay.
And I fucking broke out. I fucking just right out the window. Out of there. Gone.
You freaking beast.
Yeah. There's been a few dreams. The dreams is like where I believe a lot of people get inspiration for different things.
Stephen King.
Stephen King
Example
is,
A.
Yep, a big example. And I wish I dream journaled like a lot of the things I've seen. Well, not just seen, but like thought of in my dreams.
I believe the guy who actually directs this and creates the Spirited Away movies, or sorry, the Studio Ghibli movies,
Yes.
actually, he's either tapping into dreams or he's tapping into his on-demand imagination.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much imagination to paper, no cuts, go.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I mean, I think that in order to get a cat buzz, you kind of have to tap into your dreams or something, dude.
Yeah.
My neighbor Totoro, dude.
There's some cracked stuff in My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
That one's a trip to watch. But
yeah, it is.
I suppose to conclude, thank you everybody for watching. This is part 3 of our Slenderman series, part 3 out of part 4. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time for part 4, where we will be going over the 2014 case of the Slenderman stabbing. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time, babies.
It just doesn't feel right.
No?
My body.
Why are you talking like that? Cut? Okay.
Let me regain my composure.
You got it.
Whenever I feel like I'm put on the spot.
You are put on the spot, but I put you on the spot before I started recording, so you knew you were on the spot.
Yeah, hold on, let me get some...
Get some water? Yeah, you seem to need it, bro. The audience is waiting.
I'm waiting, dude. I'm waiting for my freaking cheeks to slow down. Okay. Alright. Hi, my name is Ian. Over there. Or up or down, left or right, whichever way it is.
You're
is
pointing.
Ethan. And we are the host of It Whispers.
Hold on.